High school, or as I like to call it, gross. Not a lot of people look back on high school that fondly, and that makes sense for such a transitional time in your life. You're transitioning from small to big, child to adult, happy to adult, and on top of that, you're doing it all while surrounded by 14-year-olds. It's not the most fun time. There's a lot you could say about high school, but the most transitional of transitional times, at least for me personally, would have to be my first year of high school was not that. I had gone to the same school from preschool through 8th grade. Basically my entire life up until that point had existed within that tiny private school in Vermont. It became my comfort zone. All of my friends were there, I knew basically everyone, and I was happy. So leaving that behind after spending 11 of my 14 years of life there, I was shell-shocked. I hadn't really had to make new friends since preschool, and I didn't know what to do. I tried to cook up a game plan, figure out how to best introduce myself so that everyone would immediately like me.
And honestly, I didn't really have an impression of you that I can remember.
Because you did always have sort of an air of fear around you at all times.
Turns out overthinking things doesn't help. I tried my best to talk to people, put myself out there, all the usual advice you get about meeting people, but I was scared in learning that putting yourself out there isn't something you just do. There's no concrete thing you can complete to go like, I did it, I'm out there. Like I tried to talk with classmates, but just showing up to class every day then going home, there's not a lot of opportunities to connect with people. Especially considering I went to a boarding school as a day student, I felt like everybody had a chance to get to know each other in the dorms and on the weekends, but what was I gonna do, stay late at night just to hope something would happen to me?
You were the one who stayed in our room in the common room on the first floor of freshman year. You would sit there a lot.
I think sitting in the common room was the best social activity I could come up with, hoping someone would stop and talk to me while I played games on my phone. It didn't work, but I had a pretty sick Madden mobile team. That brings us to winter break, which was great. I was so worn down by the seemingly endless routine of work with nothing to enjoy that I was so happy to be home for break. Ironically, I was even more alone then, just staying in my room the whole time, but I felt a lot happier at home because at least now it felt like a choice to spend my time alone. Of course, breaks don't last forever, so in January I went back to school and that was— I'm not doing this again. Coming back to in January was depressing. I had escaped for a few weeks and had fun pretending I could just stay home watching YouTube and playing games and be fine. It's not like you can play Madden Mobile on a friend anyway. But now I had to go right back into the place that I hated and face the reality that I still had no friends, was still unhappy, and still had no idea how to make things better. I had a transfer spot at the school all my old friends went to open and ready for me. For some reason, I didn't take it. I still can't fully explain why I turned down what seemed like an obvious solution, but I think I knew, even back then, it was just avoiding the problem. I could have gone right back to all my old friends in the same little Vermont town I'd spent the last 11 years. I would have essentially been the same person I was in middle school for 4 more years, and I'm sure I would have been happy. But I still had other transitions to face in my life. I couldn't just stay closed off forever. I needed to figure out something. Some way to be happy away from my old home. Kinda like Shrek. So I decided to stay. And slowly, things started to get better.
I also remember specifically you emailing me about service day, joining
About
the
what?
same service day group.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was like April of freshman year, and that's the first time I was like, wow, someone actually wants to do something with me. Like, actually a friend now.
We're fucking making it in the world.
I won't pretend things were great after that. High school still kinda sucks for everyone, but things did get better. I still don't really know how to measure putting yourself out there, but I kept trying to do that, and eventually I found some people and they found me too. And if I hadn't been forced through all this stuff in high school, I don't know what I would have done in college. Sometimes it just takes a second try to get things right. Like Shrek.
I think you just gained a lot more confidence, in both like who you are and what you want to do and be.
I can't necessarily tell you I'm happy to have had such a terrible first year of high school, but I genuinely believe that without that experience, I wouldn't be nearly as happy now. I'm happier with school, I'm happier with my friends, I'm happier with who I am as a person, and I'm happy to finally have a really awful Madden mobile team.